I wanted to take a minute to kind of go over some of the design elements and maybe some of the things that you would want to think about when you're thinking about making a design. First thing is the foundation fabric. Will the foundation fabric be part of your design, or will it just be in the background? This is a part of the design. It was part of my piece. It's very simple, and the fabric plays into the art of the piece. Something like this, however, is completely loops, and so the fabric doesn't lean into anything. You can't really see it that much, and so you don't really need to think of the fabric. You can just punch on whatever you want to punch on. Another item is the amount of defined lines you want in your piece. So a loop, if your loops are going to be your main part of your piece, you will lose some definition in your lines. Some. So I have triangles here, and you can still see it looks like a point of a triangle. So there is still some definition. However, the point of this triangle is not as defined as the point of this triangle. So this triangle, you can see a definite point, and but the loops, because your edge of your triangle is a loop within itself, it's not going to be as sharp. So if you want sharp lines, you might want to go with the top stitch. So this is the top stitch, and you have a lot more control over the defined lines of your art piece if you use a top stitch versus the back stitch. The perfecting the detail of this back stitch, the loop side, is the art of punch needle or rug hooking. That's kind of where you get into fancifying your designs, is mastering the art of detail within the loops, because you have less control over it, so you have to think about it a little bit more. Thirdly, will your stitches be part of your art? So this is, I used a 3-line stitch to make it a basket weave, and it is part of the piece, and it is part of the art of the piece. And so you can use your stitching to make a piece stand out within itself. So this is very basic, it's mostly cream, but it still is beautiful because I used a texture in the stitch itself. Another thing I wanted to mention is the details. So this one, I did the white, I did everything, and I did the black at the very last. So if you want to outline something and something like this, you're going to want to do it last, because you lose a little bit of the effect of the punch needle when if you were to put this line in first and then fill in this, it squishes it together and you lose the defined line. So if you want to make something like this, then you want to do the outline last. And then the same thing with these dots. I did everything first, and then I added the dots last. And there is a rule of thumb that you're going to want at least 3 stitches for a dot if you can. I don't always do that, but if you can, 3 stitches will make sure that it will stay in place. And so I just went and inserted those after I did everything else. And then this is a good piece in that I did a top stitch and the back stitch, and so you can have texture within it, and you can kind of play around with it. So I find that it's best to do a back stitch, the loop side, at the bottom of the piece, because it's really heavy, so it kind of anchors your piece. Whereas this is lighter, and so it will make your eye go throughout the piece, where if you have a big, huge, heavy piece up here, it kind of stops your eye from exploring the entire piece. Eyeballs. The eyeballs I had to play around with a little bit, so I did the white inside the eyeballs, which makes it the little puppy dog face, which makes it really cute. But you're gonna want to do the whites of the eyes first, and then be very, very stingy with your black stitches. So just do just enough to fill it in, not too much, because it squishes the whites of the eyeballs, and it's just nearly not as cute. And then lastly, shading, I'm sorry. So if you want to put shade, this is another example. I did the pink lines at the very last and kind of bring out the pieces of the flower. So I did a lot of the flower, I did all of the flower, and then I put the pink lines in there last, and then I completely eyeballed it. You can't really see because you have the thing, so you can't really guide it. I just eyeballed that one. And then the shading. So here I have a yellow flower with a peach shading to it. So I wanted it to be a two-tone flower, and when I sketched this on a piece of paper first, and when I sketched it, I actually colored it in with a colored pencil to get the shading, and then after you get the shading, you will do the outline of it. And that's how you do the shading of a piece like in punch needle, is that you make it a piece within the piece. So you just kind of have the chunk out of it, and then you just make it a different color. Essentially, that's how you shade within punch needle.